Welcome back to another session on evolution, and here we'll be discussing on the embryological evidences of organic evolution. So, what is embryology? Embryology is the study of the origin and development of an organism from egg to adult stage. So, a comparative study of embryology provides evidence for evolution, regarded by Charles Darwin as second to none in importance. So, embryological evidences have been considered so important in providing, uh, like, uh, or proving the organic evolution. Um, this field was brought into prominence by the work by German biologist Ernst Haeckel with his work on the biogenetic law of recapitulation. Um, Several examples of embryological evidences are uh, like regarding the fertilized ovum of different groups of organisms, the embryos, the similarities of embryos among different organisms, similarly homology in embryonic development, the fate of gastrula, and extra embryonic membranes. We'll look into in detail. Uh, like in the case of fertilized ovum, all animals begin life as a single cell, that is a fertilized ovum, and it suggests a single celled ancestor for all the multicellular organisms. Since all the organisms they start their development, individual development from a fertilized ovum, that is a single cell, this indicates that the complete set of organisms have evolved from a single celled structure. Whether it is unicellular, all the organisms have arose or evolved from a single celled organism. Okay. Then, regarding the similarities of embryos, it is observed that there is a striking similarity in the embryos of different animals, ranging from fish to man. And the more closely related the adult animals are, usually there is a greater similarity of their embryos. So, embryos of man and monkey show more similarity than the embryos of man and fish, and such similarity may be due to the inheritance from a common ancestor. Now, with respect to the homology in embryonic development, all vertebrate embryos pass through similar stages of embryonic development, and it is these stages can be listed as fertilized ovum, that is a single cell. Then this fertilized the zygote, it starts to divide into two, and then again divide to form like groups of 4, 8, 16, 32, and so on. The cell becomes a mass of cell. Actually, the zygote gets transformed into mass of cells, and as the process continues, there becomes it transforms into the next stage, that is a blastula. Okay, blastula is actually a ball of cells with a cavity in the center, and this cavity, it is known as the blastocoele, right? And the blastula later uh, converts itself into uh, an embryonic stage called gastrula. So we had a zygote, a single cell stage, then it started to divide into number of cells, so it formed a mass of cells, and later it get converted into stage of ball of cells with a central cavity, that is a blastula with a blastocoele. Okay, and this blastula later got converted into an embryo, which is known as a embryonic stage, which is known as a gastrula. Okay, usually it could be two-layered embryo, and then a three-layered stage with the formation of mesoderm in higher groups. Okay, and all these stages are fundamentally similar in all animals. Okay, so that is a homology in embryonic development: zygote, mass of cells, blastula, gastrula. Okay, so these are the stages which we can see in all the group of animals. Now, what happens to gastrula? That is the fate of gastrula. The outer surface of gastrula in all the cases becomes the ectoderm, which give rise to the external surface of the body, such as skin, scales, feathers, hair, the nervous system, the sensory structures or the sense organs, etc. While the inner layer, it is known as endoderm, and it forms the lining of the digestive tract, and also it give rise to glands associated with the digestive tract like liver, pancreas, etc. Simultaneously, a third layer called mesoderm forms in between ectoderm and endoderm, and this mesoderm later it uh, give rise to all other structures like muscles, bones, kidneys, connective tissue, and etc. So when the endoderm folds inwards, a new cavity is formed known as archenteron. In the case of gastrula, when the endoderm folds inwards, a new cavity is formed, which is known as a archenteron. Okay, and this is actually the beginning of the digestive tract. So the archenteron it later forms the digestive tract, and the opening it may form into mouth or anus. Okay, which you may have already studied in the initial classes of your caudate studies. In the non-caudate classes you may have learned. Okay, when the blastopore forms the mouth, when blastopore forms the anus in other groups, so it is known as the deuterostome and proterostome, isn't it? So all these are actually similar in many groups of animals, and this indicate that they have a common ancestor. Okay, so it could be explained only with a remote common ancestor having a similar pattern of embryonic development. Now, after the embryos are formed, the embryos are protected by extra embryonic membrane in reptiles, birds, and mammals. So, extra embryonic membrane means the membranes above surrounding the embryo that protects the embryo. Okay, so the embryos of reptiles, birds, and mammals gets protected by extra embryonic membranes, and these include amnion, yolk sac, and allantois. Okay, the amnion encloses the embryo in a fluid medium and protects the embryo from mechanical injuries. Okay, this fluid is what is referred as the amniotic fluid. So the yolk sac it grows out from the embryo in its early development, and it encloses the yolk that provide nourishment to the embryo. So the embryo during its course of development it depends upon the yolk which is stored inside the yolk sac. Okay, then similarly the allantois it serves in respiration and excretion. It is large in reptiles and birds, while in most mammals, including man, the allantois is much reduced to structure. So hence it may be said that modern birds, reptiles, and mammals are similar in having the extra embryonic membranes, and this could indicate that there had been a common ancestor for these three groups of organisms. Okay, so these are a few what you call aspects which can be taken as embryological evidences for organic evolution. Now you can see over here this was actually portrayed by Ernst Haeckel, and you can see the similarity of the embryos. Okay, here you can see these are all almost very similar. It is very difficult to distinguish the embryos of one from the other. Okay, but during the course of development it changes the structure depending upon the organism which it is going to develop into. Okay, now embryological evidence for evolution actually it was well interpreted by von Baer, and he was a German embryologist from early 19th century, and he arrived at four important conclusions which are known as von Baer's rule. It states that the first one states that general characters appear before special characters. So what does it indicate? The general features, that is all developing vertebrates appear very similar shortly after gastrulation, and it is only after the development, only later in the development that special features of that particular class or even species emerge. So all vertebrate embryos have gill arches, notochords, spinal cords, and even primitive kidneys. So here is actually a stage after the gastrula. So soon after the gastrulation, all the developing embryos, mainly the vertebrate embryos, they look very similar. And only in the later developmental stages what happens is special features with respect to that particular class or order or the species, okay, is developed. So that is what is referred as the general characters appearing before special characters. Special characters refer to the characters of that particular class or specific to the order or specific to the species. While general characters refer to the characters with respect to the general group. For example, vertebrate. Okay. Now the second statement states shows that from the more general, the less general, and from there to the special characters develop. So here all vertebrates initially have the same type of skin. Only later does the skin develop fish scales, reptilian scales, bird feathers, or the hair, claws, and nails of mammals. So similarly, the early development of the limb is essentially the same in all the vertebrates, and only later do the differences between the legs, wings, and other structures become visible or become apparent. Okay, so from the more general, that is the skin, the less general, obviously the fish scales, and maybe the special characters, what kind of fish scale is developed later. So all this is how the characters develop in the case of the animal groups. Okay, first the more general character develop, and then the less general appears, and finally the special characters appears. Okay, now the third statement is an animal during development departs progressively from the form of other animals. So for instance, like the embryos of a given species, instead of passing through the adult stages of lower animals, it departs more and more from them. That is what the statement comes up with. So the visceral cleft or the pharyngeal cleft of embryonic birds and mammals do not resemble the gill slits of the adult fish. Okay, rather they resemble the pharyngeal gill clefts of embryonic fish or the fish in the embryonic stage and the embryonic vertebrates. So whereas a fish preserve and elaborate these pharyngeal gills to or clefts to develop into true gills, mammals convert them into structures such as the eustachian tube. Okay, so here we can see with an example that the pharyngeal gill clefts, okay, of embryonic birds and mammals, they never resemble that of the adult fish. Okay, in turn, what happens is the visceral clefts of embryonic fish is similar to the visceral clefts of the embryonic birds and mammals. Okay, in fishes, what happens during the course of development? These visceral clefts will develop into the true gill slits, right? While in birds and mammals, this later develop into the eustachian tube. This is what happens. Okay, so I hope it is clear. Now, the fourth statement says the young stages in the development of an animal are like the young stages or the embryonic stages of lower animals, and not like the adults of those animals. Okay, it's like almost similar. This human embryos never pass through a stage equivalent to an adult fish or bird. Instead, the human embryos initially share characters in common with fish and avian embryos. So later, the mammalian and other embryos diverge, and none of them pass through the stages of others. So that is what. So it almost says that the only the embryonic stages are similar, not never the adult stages of the lower animals can be seen as the embryonic stage in the higher animals. The higher animals during the embryonic development, it will never pass through the adult stages of the lower groups. So that is what it indicates. Okay, that is about the von Bayer's rule. So we will be looking in detail about the biogenetic law or recapitulation theory in the next presentation, and we will also compare that with the von Bayer's rule. Okay, thank you.